Have you?
cute. I like your English accent.
Well,
Chris
thank you.
said,
I like
I talked to Christine Burke, and she liked your accent too.
Yes, she. Yeah, we're going to talk soon again.
Oh,
So
good. She liked it.
thank you.
So here we are, goingsolomedia.com, WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network Radio, TV, and podcast #1 internet singles talk network with Let's Talk About Dating with Christine Baumgartner and Barry Selby. Hi, Barry.
Hi, Christine.
We're always so cheerful because we like talking to each other. I think we're generally
Yeah,
just cheerful people too. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So, are you ready to date? What a good
Hmm.
question, right? And I was thinking how fun, because we always do this, approach things from so many different directions that people haven't dated yet would really not know because you haven't tried. And then for people who have dated some, maybe there's some things you haven't noticed that would say, oh, maybe I'm not ready to date. Maybe I need to work on that. So I thought, oh, we could approach it from both directions, from baby brand new people and from people who are like, well, is it me or is it them? Because I think that that's a lot of what comes up when you decide, oh, maybe I am not ready to date because I'm not approaching it right, or I'm attracting the wrong kind of people, or I'm getting the wrong kind of outcome.
Well, on top of that, to make it even more of a sort of looking for warning sign, it's those people who've been dating a lot and wondering why they're still not getting what they want, and not even aware they're not dating right. That sort of obliviousness. So I think we should cover that spectrum in our conversation today.
Sure. Because both of us, we've talked about, we're both using online dating. And one of the questions they ask a lot, interestingly, is how long have you been using online dating? And what has been your experience? Which isn't necessarily a question I ever think to ask, but since they asked me, I asked them. And there's some people that have been using it for a couple years and they continue to not meet anybody, is what they say. They haven't met anybody they like, they haven't anybody they have anything common with. And I'm thinking, well, even if I didn't, because mine, I've only been like 6 weeks now, but before I did do it for a while, but I met people and I got into a relationship of let's see how this is going to go for a little while. I did find that happened, and I'm sure it's going to happen again. And I'm amazed that people can go a year and a half and not meet one person. So maybe they're not ready to date. You think, Barry?
Maybe. Were you talking about meeting in real life or just meeting on the apps, period?
I think they've met some people in person, but they didn't want to have a second date, or the other person didn't want to have a second date. But so many people in a row that nobody are they meeting are people that they want to continue seeing, or that the other person wanted to continue seeing them. I mean, I was impressed he continued after a whole year and a half and hadn't met anybody like that. He's a tough soul to not get discouraged.
Well, the other thing is, I mean, the other part of that too is also standards too, because there are some people, because to be honest, I mean, I'm single on the dating apps too, and a couple of the apps I frankly look at and going, I don't think I'm going to meet any better in that app because the what's what I'm looking for, recommendations from the app are so not what I'm looking for. I'm like, do they not know? Did I put the data in wrong? That sort of thing. So being more selective, and there's a couple of apps I'm in now, which are actually brand new apps that have been set up. So there's not enough of a database yet, but because I'm one of the founding members, so I'm like, I'm waiting to wait 6 months on those because the other ones. But the other apps, I've been reaching out and starting to build connections. So just from being in what's the one called, in real transparency, I've only been out. I've been out on a date for a while because there's been people that communication hasn't gone anywhere. So
Mhm.
I have to speak from that place honestly too. I can't say like I've been on 17 dates this week. That isn't accurate. So
Yeah.
gotta be honest.
Yes. And let's see, what you're doing is you're looking at, are my people here? Because if you go for a while and you worked on your profile, you've worked on the way you're communicating with people, you're asking really good questions, and they're still not showing up, you might just want to try another app.
Well, I have been probably scaring some away.
Do tell, Barry, how are you scaring them
well,
away?
well, because the thing is that this is one of the things. I mean, you and I are both in this interesting arena where we know so much that
Yeah.
when we go on dates with somebody, it's challenging if you see somebody's what's the word I'm looking for? I would say flaws may not be the right word, but their idiosyncrasies. Let's say that. That's a nice way of putting it. Where I go look at a person going, I'd be too tempted to counsel them. It wouldn't work.
Yeah.
That's happened more than once on my case, just to be transparent.
Oh,
so
yes.
that goes on, and also, to be honest, I mean, it's funny because being in the dating professional arena, so to speak, I have a couple of friends of mine, colleagues in this business who help people create better dating profiles. I could happily refer them so much business from the women I see on the dating apps, because the pictures alone, it's like, could you look at the camera without sunglasses on? Could you, it's like just that level. I mean, when we did this talk a few weeks ago about, your dating profile, but the lack of energy putting into the dating profile, like they don't even write anything in their bio, or they don't put anything in their pictures that shows them either on their own or even attractive. I mean, seriously, I looked at I get notifications of people on the dating apps. I remember seeing pictures of women who looked like they were waiting in a waiting room for a tooth extraction. That's how happy they looked.
I'm so amazed at people who don't smile
like,
in any of their pictures.
Right. And I'm like, no, looking aloof is not an attractive look in a dating app. Maybe in your LinkedIn profile, but not in a dating app.
So I think that's an indicator that if you don't feel some positive energy about, wow, I'm going to get on a dating app and I'm going to meet new people and I'm going to find this exciting and interesting and intriguing, it comes through on your pictures if you're not feeling that way. Absolutely. And then the people who don't write anything or so little, I wonder about their self-confidence, because they can't write about themselves, about what it is they do and that they're passionate about and what they're looking for in a relationship. I mean, I'm amazed at the people who don't write, even though I do know some of them are limited with how much you can write. Mm-hmm. You can still say things about yourself, about, I love volunteering, or I love reading books and these are the kind, or I love movies, or I love the outdoors. Like, you would talk about that you bake bread and that you walk in those beautiful hills and take gorgeous pictures of all those animals. I mean, that really gives a little peek into Barry, where I'm so frustrated and disappointed that they don't talk about that in the beginning. And it makes me think that that's sometimes very much could be an indication that you're maybe not so ready, less ready than you think you are.
That's the thing. So a lot of people, I think, do the dating apps almost as like a mechanical thing to do, versus I'm putting energy into that, which is, again, are you ready to date? Well, do you have the energy to put into dating? So the dating apps are an indication of where you are in that perspective too. So that's one piece of the puzzle. So we've got that one. I think we've covered that piece now.
Yes. And when somebody asks me what I want somebody that's interesting and interested. And so some of the dating apps have those little already, how did you sleep? And good morning. And how are you today? And what are you doing today? And they just push the button and it puts all those words there.
Oh, yeah, the predefined ones, yeah.
Yes, that is not interested to me.
No.
I mean, I ask them questions, okay, what was the most fun thing you did today? What was a hard thing that was a challenge today? I mean, I want somebody to ask me those kinds of questions too, because that shows that they're an interesting person. They're interested in learning, and they're interested in learning about me. I mean, isn't that what you want to do? You want to see if this person's somebody you want to talk to on the phone, if you could actually have a conversation and, oh my gosh, meet in person. I mean, even these first little interactions, they feel very benign to me. Right. It doesn't spark my interest. And it's funny when you talk about being in this dating arena, it's happened enough that I'm a little prickly about it. I'm not sure if I've talked about it yet, because I'm a little prickly about it.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll say, even though I have said my profession, I don't put my company name because then they can find me, but I'd say that I'm a dating and relationship coach, and they'll say, well, why are you single?
Yeah.
Why are you not in a relationship?
Yeah.
So.
Or they say, what are you doing, research?
Oh, I haven't gotten that. Oh,
yeah.
That must be a girl thing to say. That's interesting. No, I haven't gotten that. But so what do you say when they ask you? I want to hear your answer first.
I said, well, because the other party also, and this has come up a lot recently in podcasts and even in Clubhouse, that I'm a relationship coach and I'm single. And there's nothing wrong with that. Because the thing is, because there is a presupposition and this assumption that if you're a relationship coach, you must be an expert, therefore you should be in a massive, successful relationship. Well, there are many people in relationships who aren't relationship experts. So it doesn't work that way necessarily. So I am very clear in saying that. It's like, I am clear about who I am, what I'm about. I'm looking for somebody who can meet me. The challenge of being in this business and being that invested in my own education, knowing what I know, is that be with somebody who hasn't done any work in that area. It's kind of like mismatch. It doesn't work. So I've got to be specific enough on what I want, because there's no point dating somebody who's going to become a project.
Oh no, and that can be a double-edged sword for us, that we know a lot. So we are a really nice date. We're really fun to date. I mean, you are so woman friendly and I am so man friendly that everybody always wants to go out with us a second time, generally. Not always, but mostly. But they're not always a match for us because they don't even know the work to do, and they certainly haven't done it.
Well, they don't. Let me be clear about and say this in a funny way. Some of my dates I've been on, I definitely would say that they don't want to go on a second date with me because I scare them too much. Because when we start talking about stuff, I don't hold back. I dive deep pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And we're talking about in this thing about ready to date, because I talk about the things I've been through and what I've learned and what I've realized about my dating experience. So they very quickly get from me. These women definitely get from me that I know some stuff and I've learned some stuff and I teach some stuff. So if there's because what happens for them is that I notice this happens is they start questioning their own perspective, not like I'm forcing them to, but because they recognize that I'm very self-aware and that I do have a level of emotional depth over the work I've done to heal those things. So I'm actually better off. Mm-hmm. And they maybe sit there going, oh crap. And it's not to edify myself. It's simply to say is that there's so many people out there, just to be clear, who haven't yet taken their steps forward in this journey. That's not right, wrong. It's just what they haven't done. And so I know that my dating pool is smaller. Mm-hmm. And so the selection I make has to be very specific. And I'm fine with that. That's the thing. I mean, yes, it'd be nice if I met lots of women who've done all their work and they've grown they've grown this level and there's plenty of women out there, just not many necessarily in my geographic area, in my age range, and single. There's a few things out there. There's a lot of women out there who are doing great work.
Who also want a relationship.
Right.
Those are so many key things.
Yes.
Because, oh my gosh, there's this demographics of women in our age group who don't want, even though they've done the work, even though they've done lots of work, they're really content, they like men, they're not in the mood to be in a long term. They like company, they like companionship. They don't want to give up any of their independence. They don't want to give up their home life. So the living apart together has become a little bit better, where you keep your separate residences. You generally don't see other people. You're just not attached at the hip. And I have found, wow, I have talked to so many, that's so not me, but I've certainly talked to enough women to know there's a big pool of them. And it's harder on guys that want to get into, let's wake up together and have these great conversations and laugh. And these women, this pocket of women, that's so not what they want. They still want to hang out with their friends and sometimes even travel alone. And I'm thinking, wow, that's hard on guys that really want to dig in. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then you're up against that too.
Yeah. And reality is just, I know we're going to get back onto the main topic again, but I'm very aware for myself that I'm okay with that ultimately, because I'm not fixated where I must have a partner. And I would suggest that's one of the things about you ready to date is if you're driven by the need to have a partner, where you must have a partner, you may be going about it not necessarily the right way. Yeah. There's something about having a detachment and having, and I remember this with somebody in a clubhouse room being there asking questions, said, that if you're looking in the dating arena and you're feeling a little bit frustrated with it, it's like the thing about dating is you want to have a high involvement and low attachment. Yeah. So that you really are having a great time and you're putting all the energy and having a great, enjoyment with the person, but you're not so fixated this person has to be the one that if it doesn't happen, you're going to be heartbroken.
Yes.
Especially on the first date. Because that's the other challenge. If you get heartbroken over the first date not working, you're approaching it the wrong way.
Or writing to them and they don't write back. It's so sad, people that take that so personally. I'm like, can I tell you generally how little that has to do with you?
Well, that's the thing. This whole thing that because the ghosting term came out, I don't know, a few years ago, but that term's been so easily thrown on people because they didn't respond. It's like, no, ghosting is when somebody disappears off the radar completely. But because they didn't text you back, it may be because it could have been something totally logistical. It wasn't even about you. Mm-hmm. It could be their own emotional stuff shutting them down. So it's very true that 99.9% of the reasons why they didn't get back to you is not because of you.
Most of the time.
Yeah. Well, 99.9% is most of the time.
Yeah. No, I'm confirming most of the time. I am agreeing 100%. I'm saying it a second time that people hear because they take it so personally, both men and women. Like, no, 99.9% of the time it is. I want to keep saying it is nothing to do with you. They aren't checking their profile. They're not ready. They think they're ready, but they went out with 3 people and discovered they weren't ready. I mean, I have met a number of men in my time now of putting myself really out into the dating world who they discovered they're widowed and it wasn't long enough and they just weren't ready. Yeah. They knew they needed to go off and do healing things. Okay. And I appreciate their honesty. I really do. Even though I was sad and I actually liked both of them, I don't want somebody who isn't ready to give their heart. No. And how impressive. And they said, that some of my questions helps them figure that out because that's what you and I do. I mean, they're not, I said, well, did I make you feel uncomfortable? No, you just made me think more. You made me think more deeply about, well, where am I in my life? And am I really going to be my best person in a relationship? And they discovered they weren't. So that was kind of a nice compliment.
It's wonderful to serve, but it's a pain in the butt sometimes because you don't get what you want. It's that
since I liked them.
Right. And that's part of this dance is, and we'll talk more about that piece about knowing you're not ready yourself, is that there is how to say this. There is a drive to date that is almost innate in our culture. And so we are predisposed to jumping into the dating arena oftentimes, even when we're not ready. And at the same time, there are people who jump into the dating arena that are just simply doing it because they think they have to, not because they want to. Mm-hmm. And so the fact that people who are in the dating arena can choose, because the other part about this, if you're in the dating arena, dating apps, whatever it is, you can choose to back out if you want to. Mm-hmm. So what you said, these 2 guys did, or 3 guys, the 2 you liked as well, that they chose to stop dating because they realized they weren't ready yet. Boy, if everybody did that, it'd be so much easier.
So much easier on everybody. And so looking at yourself of, well, what does it mean to be ready? What does it mean to be ready? I mean, that's a really good question to ask yourself. And then when you say, okay, being ready means I can open my heart, I can fall in love, I can be available to a partner, I can be there to support them, I can allow them to support me, I can include them in my friends and family. Because that's the other conversation is there's people who have kids, relatives who are not on board with them dating. That's a kind of a big hurdle to get over. Are you in a good financial place? Are you good in a good living space? Are you geographically where you would be happy to be? Would you be willing to relocate? I mean, to really look inside yourself and ask those kinds of questions is essential before you put yourself out into the dating world.
And one of those other pieces too is, are you willing and ready to close the door on anybody else?
Yes.
Because that comes up too.
Oh my goodness, yes. I have to stop dating everybody else eventually.
And also, are you ready to stop even looking around for somebody else? Because the other part, some people are so enjoying the process of looking and having fun and exploring, not necessarily dating, just exploring. Mm-hmm. When they meet somebody, they stop doing that. And part of them, they're so that's their investment of energy. When they meet somebody that drop that away, that's not easy for them to do either.
No.
So that comes up as well. But the big piece I want to talk to, though, this is the biggest piece probably of all. One of the biggest pieces, and I referenced this before, I think, about the fact is that when we tend to come out of relationships and don't do the work necessary to heal what happened in that relationship or went wrong in that relationship, we tend not to be ready for the next one. And the way I like to illustrate that from my work is I reference this from Barbara DeAngelis, talks about this in one of her lectures I remember hearing years ago. It just popped up in my Facebook memories from like 7 or 8 years ago. I saw her talk about this. She talked about that we have this. Imagine that basically our heart is like an ocean between us and other people, and that's the amount of love we get to express with them. So when the ocean's open and wide, as much love we can express with somebody, we're in love with them. It's wonderful. But when we go through breakups and heartbreaks and we don't actually heal our own hearts, it's like there are icebergs appearing on the ocean. They're filling it up. And so the more ice that fills up the ocean, the less that the ocean is available to be able to express because it's covered up. And so if we go through several breakups in a row without doing the inner work, without seeking counsel, guidance, whatever that is, to get over those past relationships, there's less and less space for that love to be expressed to the new person. So not only are you not available to love yourself, you're not the other person not going to benefit from all of your love. So they're getting shortchanged as well.
Mm-hmm.
So this thing about not being ready to date, or should say ready to date, is oftentimes is how clear or how open, how full, how free is your heart? Mm-hmm. Or are you still carrying scar tissue, so to speak, from past relationships where you didn't heal? Maybe you got abused or neglected, or you had to leave because of some other circumstance. If you haven't done that work, this is the biggest piece. Maybe you're not ready to date yet. Maybe you need to be looking at your own self in the mirror and saying, okay, what is it I need to work on myself to heal those past emotional wounds, to drop that past hurt, and to be free to love again.
Yeah. So true. It's so true. That's such a good visual. Yeah. I met a gentleman a couple weeks ago for lunch, and it's so interesting because I don't generally have to ask really nosy, which I don't certainly on the first meeting questions, but people just, I'm sure you'll find this too, because this is what we do for a living. It's just who I've been since a kid. They just tell me everything. And he had been married, had kids, got a divorce. Before his divorce was even final, he was dating his second wife. And now he's getting a divorce from her. And before the divorce is final, he's dating again. And I thought, wow, you didn't see that might be a problem, because it didn't work out for a bunch of reasons that, for the reasons he explained to me, I see them as kind of evidence of he hadn't healed what had caused the first breakup, and now there were more compounding things, that more icebergs, which, to use your visualization, that were now going to be for this, whoever the third person is that he is desperately seeking. And that is so huge to notice about yourself.
Yeah. The idea about rebound romance is not recommended by any means. And the thing is that it's not your next person, your next lover's role to either band-aid your previous breakups or to distract you enough from the past wounds that you'll feel better again. That's what a lot of people do. They don't say it necessarily consciously, but they will seek out somebody else in the dating apps or wherever they meet somebody to make them feel better because they still have some upset feelings about their past. And that's not their job. There's a meme I used to post, which I do not post anymore because I realized that the intent of it is like, when you want to find somebody who's going to help you unpack your baggage. No, you don't. Find a coach for that, so your next partner doesn't have to deal with that.
Yeah. And people say, I want somebody that'll fix me or help me put all my pieces together. And the little caveat I will say, because I've certainly saw it for me personally and for my clients, that often we've worked on a lot of things, and there's still this thing that sometimes the last hurdle of it is to do it in a relationship. And you both show up with kind of opposite things, where you have the means and understanding of going, yeah, that is a hard thing that happened to you. And, I'm not going to be that person.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do that for each other and be available to not only heal yourself, because you really are still the person healing yourself, but to be available for the other person to heal themselves. So you and I would never say everybody has to be all perfect before they go out and date, because we're all going to have these layers inside of us. And the thing is, I always say, I know I have idiosyncrasies and interesting, quirky things about me. And I just wanted somebody to find them charming or interesting, which my late husband did, thank goodness. And not everybody does. That's okay too, because I don't find theirs all charming and interesting.
Right.
And the parts of me, like one of the things I remember him saying, because I'd had a really difficult relationship with my father growing up. And before he died, the last 6 months, we really worked it out. We really did. We had really the most open conversation, two-way, because that had never happened. There was never the opportunity to really have a back and forth. It was always, this is how I am, and I'm never going to be different, and you should just suck it up. And one day, my late husband, we'd been married a couple years, and he said, I don't know what I was, said something about something my dad did. And he said, okay, I need you to stop right now and tell me 5 good things about your dad. I just have to hear them right this minute. And I was like, okay, I could do that. And what a cool thing to say to me.
Yeah.
It was so, I was like, I mean, the times he was so the right guy for me for so many reasons. And
I
so
love
I
it.
did. I thought back. He taught me to throw a frisbee, and he taught me to drive, because he was a crazy driver. So he didn't care what the hell I did. None of it scared him. It was just fun to really think about, really concentrate on 5 things that I was proud and that I admired: his business acumen and his friendliness. That I have that, where people just come up and talk to him, and that's so me. So I was like, well, thanks for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
It was really cool. And he said, it wasn't, I said, so was I ragging on my dad? He goes, no, but I knew you just needed that. I knew you just needed to hear it. And I needed to hear that you had happy things with your dad, because he
Yeah.
was taking it very important, the kind of dad he was. He was a good dad. So I just thought, this is so, again, the right kind of guy for me. So it wasn't something I would have ever thought to put on a list. I want somebody to tell me they want to hear 5 good things about my dad. But because of who we were together, this kind of stuff would pop up. So it's on my list that I want somebody to ask me kind of challenging questions and bring me up short sometimes when maybe I'm being full of myself or something. I mean, I'm okay with that. So
Right.
it's funny how the more open I find myself being, the more I can have that in my life. And it feels a little scary, and it feels a little nervous, and oh my gosh, I'm just going to open myself up to something that I don't know if I'm prepared for. But it's often, most of the time, 90% turned out really well.
Yeah.
But that's
Well,
because I've done my work, right?
that's the thing. I mean, I know when I go out, I mean, that's the thing is, I go at somebody and they have issues where they don't even talk to their ex anymore, or they're going through big issues divorcing them and that sort of stuff, or they're going stuff with their parents. I mean, the one thing that I learned, and that's the thing is I've learned so much of stuff in my master's degree and other things I've learned in my studies about things that people do. And watching how people do relationships again and again the same way with different people, that serial dating experience. First of all, that's the one thing. Then one of the benefits I'm grateful for is that I never meet women like that as a dating possibility, because I don't fit their profile. Because
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
not one of their serial. I have friends like that, and I also have clients like that, because those people are seeking me for different reasons. But in the dating arena, I tend not to meet people who are doing serial dating, because I don't fit the dating profile that they're looking for, because they're not one of the serial matches.
Yeah.
But people watching this who might be thinking about this and looking back at their past 1, 2, 3, 4 relationships where those serial things happened, if that is not working for you, for most people it isn't, that pattern, that routine, that same old thing again and again, the same words that are said, the same issues show up, the same arguments that happen as it did in the past 2 relationships, that's a clue that maybe there's something you want to work on before you date somebody else, because it will change the course of your trajectory for your next relationship. And
And
you'll
the
be a lot.
people that you're attracting and the people
Yes,
you're attracted to. Because
absolutely.
I think doing the same thing over and over can feel really safe and can feel less challenging and less outside our comfort zone. So I understand why people do the same thing over and over again. It makes sense to me. And if that was content for you, then yay. But if it's not, if you're getting frustrated about it, then learning how to change your behavior, your thought process, your actions is the key to getting ready to date, huh?
And we'll talk about more of that after the break.
Yes, we will. We'll be right back.
See you in a minute. And we're back.
And we're back about looking at yourself to find out if you're ready to date. Boy, we sound like such a broken record, but it's the only way. It's really.
I mean, it doesn't matter how many ways you approach it. It really is about you need to start looking at the relationship with yourself before you look at the relationship out there. Yeah. And that's the other part about you going back to the beginning about the dating apps, is that when I meet people, and you probably had maybe the same experience when I meet women in dating apps, when I notice their lack of self-awareness, it's very hard to even continue a conversation because it's so much. Even like the things when they tend to speak about. When you do this and when you do that, when you do that, that's a giveaway, by the way. When they don't take ownership of just saying themselves, when I do this and when I do that, that's a little tip for anybody out there by watching who's realizing that in conversation with other people, when somebody's always projecting onto you, that is their stuff, not yours again. And may not be somebody you want to hang out with too long because then they keep dumping their stuff on other people. Not dating material in my book.
It's always important for me to hear with your marriage or your most recent relationship or your bunch of relationships, what do you think has been your contribution to working out and not working out?
And also, if you're going to spend the whole time blaming them, saying it's their fault, exactly that look right there. It's like, that's not the answer.
Because I'm so understand that there's people out there that have diagnosable illnesses. They're narcissists, they're psychopaths, they're sociopaths, but you dated them for a while. You married them for a while. You have to own some of that.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't cause it. You didn't recognize it. Do you know how to recognize it now? You put up with it. You made kids with them. I mean, that's the part where I go, really? And you still to this day don't see that what your contribution was staying.
Mm-hmm.
Staying. Why do you stay? There's a reason you stay. And you need to figure out what it is and accept, wow, I was feeling insecure. I tell everybody I got married the first time because I didn't think anybody else was ever going to ask me. I said, this is it, once and done. So I'm going to get married and get out of the house. And that's the whole reason I got married the first time.
Oh yeah.
Such an immature reason, but lots of people did it then. I just choose not to
Absolutely.
do that again. I'm not going to get married for that reason again.
Right. And I mean, part of that also is the fact that, again, like, so about having the repeat patterns that keep coming up. But if there's a situation where you've been in a relationship and for most people, as much as they may not have done their quote the work, they have a little voice in their head that goes, you shouldn't, you should have left about 2 months ago or 2 years ago, and you didn't do that. So you got to take some ownership. Like, oh, I didn't listen to that inner guidance. I didn't leave when I quote should have done, or when it was the best time to. I stayed way past that point. So this, I mean, to be transparent, this is why my dating is more sporadic, because I meet too many people who meet too many women just who haven't learned this or grown through this or taken ownership or found responsibility or healed their wounds or any of that stuff. And that's the thing, is you and I should have thousands of clients because people need that sort of clarity and that support to get through this stuff. I mean, not to sell our services overly, but frankly, this is the truth of what we've been through. We've both been through enough. We've learned enough, and we've also got skills to help other people learn how to do this, so they can improve and up-level their own dating experience, because it's worth it.
So I mentioned in the beginning that men ask me, because I'm a dating and relationship coach, why am I single and why am I not in a relationship? So the truth is, my husband died suddenly. That's why I'm single.
Right.
I didn't get divorced. We didn't have a fight. He died suddenly. And I'm using online dating because I, of all people, know it's one of the great ways to meet people. It's a huge pool of single people out there. It's not the only thing I'm doing. I'm part of a number of meetups. I do other things in my life where I'm exposed to single men. And I am a huge proponent of online dating. I think it's how I met my late husband. I certainly cannot say too much negative things about it. And then I get to say, and how about you? When I meet it, and because people are texting you, I don't know if they're being snotty or not. I'm going to decide they're not being snotty, that they're really just being inquisitive. I've learned that some of them were just being snotty and they're not my kind of people.
Right.
Because if you're just going to ask me an honest question, I want you to be interested in me. I asked for that. So I'll say, and why are you single? And why are you using online dating? And it's been interesting. They've had some of the same answers as me, and then lots of other answers of why they're single, because there's no good women out there. Well, those aren't my people either.
Right.
Or, nobody ever answers. There's only scammers. I go, really? Yes, there are lots of scammers. You and I knew that before we did this, and now that we're doing it, we know there's lots. There's lots. You could stand next to a scammer at the lettuce counter. You could stand next to the counter at the DMV. I mean, you can stand next to a scammer anywhere. It's not just online dating.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that they're so obvious. They're so obvious. And so if you've done your work and you're not feeling lonely or desperate,
there you go.
You'll see English is not their first language. They don't want to video talk with you. They don't even want to talk on the phone. I mean, they leave if I say, okay, I'm ready. Let's have a chat on the phone. And then we can meet in person. Let's see if we like talking to each other. Let's see if we like how we chat video. And they won't, because they're not real people, and it eliminates them really fast.
Yeah. That's the thing is, I mean, the people get scared of the dating apps and other places too, because they heard so many horror stories. But again, as you said, when you've done your own work, it's like you can be aware enough, because the thing is, there are also lots of great people on the dating apps, as you said, and that's one I enjoy. I'm staying on the dating apps too, even though I haven't found anybody that matches what I'm looking for at this point. And yes, I actually I have friends who've been trying to set me up with dates with people outside the dating apps that they know, and oftentimes they're in different parts of the country, if not internationally, which is interesting too. But frankly, that's not an issue. They don't. I mean, in the dating apps, interesting just for me personally, I tend to keep my dating central circle, so to speak, geographically closer to me, just because that's what I want.
Mm-hmm.
But when getting referrals from friends and friends of friends type things, if they live like in the Bay Area or on the East Coast or something else, then I'm not so averse to that. But it's interesting because that's more of a selection process.
Mm-hmm.
Because also these people are referring me to people they know. First of all, that raises the bar dramatically, because they know who I am. and they also know their friends who they go, these two will get along well because they've both done their own work, or they both got these expertise, or they're both coaches, or whatever that is. In the dating apps, that isn't so easy to find. This is why I have different criteria. But I agree with it that as much as there are great people in the dating apps, having self-awareness when you go in the dating apps, you notice what's drawing you in, first of all, so you know what is appealing to you. And then notice that what's appealing to you is accurate or not, if it's genuine, if it's real. Because sometimes, again, you do have the scammers. Yes, they're out there. No argument. Tinder swindle in Netflix is a great thing to watch if you didn't know about this. But recognizing that, again, self-awareness is key. Whether you're ready to date and also in the dating apps, you have great skills inwardly to rely on to notice when something's off, when somebody's not matching their profile the way you think they are, if they're what they're writing there. Are they desperate? Are they really owning their space? Are they really a great person to know? You'll know if you're coming from desperation as well. That's the thing, is when you start doing the work, your inner guidance system is much more acute, more aware, and you choose better.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Because you and I know everybody has it. It just gets off the radio station if you're too scared, feeling not smart enough, feeling desperate, feeling that you have to meet somebody or you'll settle for anything. Then you've got all this static that's in the way of your really natural intuition that's going, pay attention. Just ask more questions. Just, if they might not be a bad person, just ask a few more questions.
And also,
sometimes people are just so nervous. I mean, that's a really normal thing to come up against.
Absolutely.
Or, the thing, I don't find it now as much, but when I dated using online dating before, when I met Tony, they were bad typers because I dated a lot of executives who didn't type. They had assistants and secretaries and stuff. It was so funny. And they go, excuse me, I'm not really good at this. I loved it. It made me laugh. I thought it was kind of charming.
I get that.
I didn't know I was going to need to learn to type. I guess I should have taken typing in school. It made me laugh a lot.
Well, that's changed a lot now because of smartphones and the keyboard stuff.
Oh, yeah. Everybody knows how to type now.
Yeah. But actually, one piece I'm going to talk about too is that again, are you ready to date? Is, have you gotten over your ex? And I talked about earlier a certain way, but there's so many people out there who, in the past marriage or the past relationship, especially when, I mean, I've seen women do this more than men have done, where they believe the thing is that last relationship was the one and they never get that back again. And so they don't think they can have anything like that again. So then I feel like I'm sloppy seconds because I'm like, well, I don't measure up. But secondly, their heart is caught up in somebody else's orbit of somebody they're not going to be with anymore. And it may have been an amazing relationship that isn't going anymore. But as you said earlier about, what is it you can own for yourself about what happened in the past relationship? But also because that relationship isn't there anymore, and it probably isn't coming back based on what you said, when are you going to be willing to let go of that? Because moving on does mean letting go of the past.
And along with that, sometimes men do it, but I've found women more. We embellish it. It gets better with time. We tend to forget the negatives. Yes.
Yeah.
So then how could anybody live up to it?
It's impossible.
Mm-hmm.
It's too perfect. Yeah.
So to really do some processing about your old relationships and the reality, and when I talk about making the list about what you want, you look at, well, what were the good things? You want those again. I want a lot of things I had with Tony. Some of the things I hadn't even put on a list before, but I have them on there now. And the realistic part of getting married again in my 50s made me go, oh yeah, there's these things that really are going to take some compromise and negotiations. So it's not all just rainbows and unicorns and butterflies. Yeah. And so you write down what are the realistic things that you're willing to negotiate and compromise about. Your living arrangements, your money, your vacations, the way that you each spend your leisure time. How much of it do you want together? How much you do want apart? It's amazing how few people have really thought about what they do now and what are they willing to do differently in a relationship.
Yeah.
Because then you meet somebody and they say, well, this is how I like spending my time. And they go, well, I wouldn't like that. Well, okay, could you talk about it and see if everybody could meet somewhere in the middle? I mean, that's the part too, where I see that where they've met somebody that seems like could be a really potential nice person and they just throw them away for seems tiny to me.
Right. No, it's that thing about they're so set in their ways and they've got this routine down. And so somebody's got to come and fit in their picture. They can't just fit in somebody else's picture.
No.
It's like, no, it's like, that's the other part about relationships. You know, it's not a compromise, but it's an adaptation or an expansion. Because that's the other part is that I know in past relationships for myself, I definitely did, to a degree, contort myself to fit their paradigm, which wasn't healthy either. So there's both extremes of totally giving up your own life to be in their relationship with them, which is not healthy. And then not moving a muscle from where you are in your relationship, hoping they're going to come to you. Either one of them's not going to work.
No.
So definitely having the willingness to know what you really need as a, and I talked about this, we've talked about this before about, you know, what you must have in your life and then what you'd like to have.
Yeah.
And if some of the like to haves don't quite fit, that's okay. But if the must haves get pushed around a bit, then you may want to say no.
Yeah.
So it's definitely getting clear about what you want and then what they want to see if it fits.
Yes. What's the happy medium?
Yeah.
And it's so interesting because I'm always saying, use your words. Use your words, please.
Oh my God, speak. Actually say things.
Stop assuming. Oh my God. Please just ask. Say, this is what's going on for me. What's going on for you? Because often there's an okay place in the middle. There really is. But if you don't say anything about it, then everybody goes around assuming wrong.
Right.
So if you don't know how to use your words, you're probably not ready to date. So you need to practice with your family and your friends using your words with them. Oh, that's too scary. Well, that's the thing you need to use your words about, because boy, you're going to need to have some very important, intimate, into them see conversations. If you're going to have a committed long-term monogamous relationship, you need to be able to use your words.
Absolutely.
I'm going to have a t-shirt made. Use your words.
Use your words. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a good motto, don't you?
I think it's a good point to end the show on too.
Yes, thank you. Please use your words.
There we go.
So, if you want to learn how to use your words, you can talk to Barry or I. We're really good at using our words every week.
You may have noticed that, yeah.
I think so. I think we're damn good at it, actually.
Yes.
We allowed to share. So the way to get a hold of me is to go to my website, which is www.theperfectcatch.com. There you can sign up for a complimentary conversation with me if you click on what's holding you back from love. And you can also reach me through my email, which is christine@theperfectcatch.com. And you can see subscribe to my newsletter, see my YouTube videos, and see our past podcasts on YouTube and Twitter and LinkedIn and Pinterest and Facebook. Can't believe I was going to forget Facebook and Instagram.
There we go.
Thank you, Barry. Such a help.
You're welcome. Every time.
And Barry, tell them how they can get a hold of you too.
Well, I can help my clients use their words as well.
Yes, you can.
Definitely easy to do that. My social media is very easy to find because all my social media is my name, and so is my website, which is barryselby.com. On that site, you can go to either barryselby.com/chat or just on the front page, click on the Let's Connect button to have a conversation with me. And I can help you use your words right there. And we can see where you're going, what you're dealing with, if you're ready for a relationship, how to get ready for a relationship and have what you want, all that sort of stuff. Also, my website are all my offerings and courses and programs and stuff. I have definitely lots of social media presence. On Instagram is the ones off, which is the real Barry Selby, because Barry Selby got taken, that got hacked. But otherwise, apart from Instagram, Barry Selby is all my social media. So Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Clubhouse, YouTube especially. Lots of videos. I've got 1,000, 1,200 videos up there now. It's all Barry Selby, so you can find me all over the place. And as Christine and I both do, we can help you use your words, navigate relationships, and find out what you really want.
We know lots of stuff.
We do.
And we'll be back next week at 1 o'clock Pacific and 4 o'clock Eastern and all the times in between. And if you have any questions, please submit it. We love topics, and we hope that you'll share this with somebody that you think might be interested in learning how to use their words and maybe want to talk to us as well, because we like using our words.
Indeed. You have a fixation, I think, right now.
I think we're in the right profession, don't you?
I think we are, yes. So with that, we'll see you again next week and look forward to having a conversation again.
Yes. Bye for now.
Bye.